What's up, everybody? This is Jake, and we have Head Judge Andrew here, back for Existence Games Podcast, Episode 4. What's going on, guys?
All right, hey guys. Long time no talk on my end.
We're so glad to have you here today, man. So you were at Worlds, judging as usual, and then you also were at Gen Con with us for the release of Set 5, yeah?
That's correct.
Cool. Well, man, Lexi is not joining us today, guys, but Jake and Andrew are here with you to chat about some of the stuff that's been going on with Exodus since the release of Set 5, the dimension that disappeared, and qualifiers are fast approaching. One is pretty much on us here this weekend, and then we also want to talk about the next World Championship, 2020. So, Happy New Year, by the way. This is the first podcast of 2020, so we're super excited, and we just want to quickly touch base on, Andrew, we saw the release of some player-made promos after Worlds. So the first promos of Season 3 of Organized Play was Siphon from Thoughts, which was designed by Chris, and then we saw a card made in the likeness of the first world champion, Rebecca. What'd you think of those promos?
Oh yeah, I mean, Siphon, when we were at Gen Con, that was the promo we were giving out for drafts, and the feedback we got on that was great. It was interesting. It was a card that functioned like an energy, therefore energy had an effect. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the point of what Chris was trying to communicate with this card, and as soon as people read it, they're like, oh, I get it. And I thought that was what the goal was, mm-hmm. to make it easy to understand, and at the same time, easy to communicate on how it functions.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I remember talking with him when he was designing it, because he was running ideas by us, and of course, we had to make sure it was balanced and everything in playtesting. But he wanted it to really feel like an energy with an effect. And the other major point was he wanted it to be almost like a pseudo staple, something that's really playable, splashable in a lot of decks, kind of like Glimpse of the Sanctuary. Do you think it succeeded on that front?
Well, I'll be honest, nothing's as good as Glimpse, but
fair.
But I will say this card can push for what it wants to do, because it basically just says, oh, you have an energy in your main deck. Mm-hmm. Oh, you get to play this at any time, free energy, and I think, that's on particularly offensive plays, for example, Mistry, that could be game changing. For sure. What about Rebecca? Rebecca, Eventide's first champion. The effect is pay 1 life point. Each player draws energy equal to the difference between your opponent's life points and yours. This one, when I first read it, I kind of thought, this was going to be, again, compared to Glimpse, lesser Glimpse. But thinking about it, again, this is going to go for a burst play. If you need all that energy to flood the field. For example, my Uncommon Trees deck, I can revive my guys so many times, but I only get 3 energy a turn. So mm-hmm. if I take hits, bring myself down to 4, play this card, go down to 3, and potentially draw 7 energy, I could revive all my guys on that turn, potentially swing with like 4 trees coming out of nowhere, each with max energy.
Definitely. And in fact, I also drew, 7, 8, sometimes even 9 energy off this card when we were playtesting it. I think it's a fun card for sure. I don't think competitive players are very keen on it at the moment, but, we're always releasing new stuff. The meta changes, so I'm excited to see how it does in the future.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, if someone plays an all-creature deck, they could tech this in. I could definitely see that happening. All those creatures, you gotta play them on the field somehow,
Mm-hmm. So yeah, fast forward to November, and we saw the release of probably what's the talk of the meta right now, Forerunner of Eclipses. What are your thoughts on this card?
So, the first thing that comes to my mind about this card is hand trap, right? It's, you can play it from your hand, and it's going to be not like a cove, a little bit different from a cove. It's going to let them draw a card, and, I personally, I like it. I like this card. I think this is a great addition to have. I think, again, personally, for all creature decks, this is what they need. This is something they can use to fight back. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But in terms of its functionality, I think this is going to be able to stop a lot of plays, a lot of critical plays. And I think having that kind of engagement when previously the only thing that could stop other symmetries was Cove.
Yep.
I think having something like this is what's going to shake things up, make it a little bit different. And honestly, having each player draw a card, that's fine. It just means that neither player loses anything, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it transforms the effect of the card it's targeting so that, it still does something and it helps each player. I think the other really interesting part about this is it only targets effects or abilities that are on the stack. So something that could actually get around this card is something like Chains in the scenario of the player played Chains. They're like, any response? No, maybe didn't have Forerunner at the time Chains was played.
Mm-hmm.
But, once both players say no response, it's off the stack. So even though Chains is active and, it could be frozen at any time by like Crystal Cove, Forerunner can't actually target it unless it's on the stack still waiting to resolve at the initial trigger point. Also keep in mind, if something is frozen, when it unfreezes, it reactivates, so that is a way that could put an effect like Chains back on the stack and open it up to getting foed, by Forerunner. The other thing too with this, what do you think of the fact that the typing, it's a Shardfolk Mushfolk, which means it cannot be added to Chrono decks for 2v2?
Oh, I think Chrono's good as is, and we can get into that later, but this is definitely what can help boost the anti-Chrono faction decks to have more answers, with all the madness that Chrono can do.
Yeah, nice. And then we go to December, we saw the release of Sunken Revenant. I think this was the first really crazy new idea or concept as far as reveal support, in that it reveals the graveyard. What do you think of that?
Oh, no, I love reveal cards. This is what's kind of what they needed, because they don't like getting vortexed. I get that, but at the same time, now who cares to get vortexed?
Right.
Just reveal your graveyard. Get 2 mushrooms in there, burn them,
Mm-hmm.
and this is honestly a great addition to the deck, and I definitely want to see this in reveal decks, because it could just be a one of, but even that one of that could late game potentially at the end of a deck cycle could be 4 damage coming at you.
Cool. That was December. And by the way, for those who didn't see it, on social media, we ran a Decorate a Tree Folk contest for Christmas. So you could take the artwork for Sunken Revenant and, put ornaments or decorate it however you want. And then the best few entries receive a prize that we mailed out. So that was pretty awesome.
Nice.
For the new year, January 2020, we released the first low rarity support in a long while, Mysterious Bosk. What do you think of this? I know that you love your low rarities.
Well, this may be biased, and wholeheartedly so. This is kind of what my uncommon trees were needing in terms of getting more energy onto the guy. In my deck, I've had to rely on Firefly Grotto to get more energy. But, the fact that I can just play this card, shump in 2 energy, and destroy an energy, that's huge in this deck, especially when I have no effects.
Yeah, man. So it definitely boosts the low rarities. One way that I've personally been playing it, pair it with Hailstone Dustmoth. So you can actually keep a deck full of ability creatures, things that are really useful, and then use something like Dustmoth to temporarily change it to a lower rarity. And it's pretty crazy because Bosk is like a -1 on your opponent's side of the field, +2 to yours. So it's like an even more powerful leech in a way.
Oh, yeah. And also, on another side, Hailstone Dustmoth, you can use that defensively against this card. If they try to target it,
oh yeah,
change it. Boom, nothing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Bosk is going to be enough, or at least a step in the right direction in bringing more low rarity decks into the competitive foray?
Honestly, I think we can definitely see a deck around this. Uncommon Shardfolk reality. It's not outside the realm of possibility. There are also multi-typed uncommon Shardfolk, which I think if I built it anyway the way I built my uncommon Treefolk, that could be huge in just being able to manipulate the field, being able to bring stuff back for free. And, this is just a way to continue to have board presence, or at least energy advantage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, because I know you mentioned the uncommon Shardfolk and stuff. So, I mean, considering what Bosk can do, what Hailstone Dustmoth can do, and then there's also cards like Chivalry of the Wilds that could really protect whatever you want to make a low rarity from leaving play, and their energy, in fact. Because I think that's what competitive players are mainly worried about is, are there enough counters?
Yeah, and I see, especially in 2v2 worlds, if the team is running a good Shardfolk core, and a way to at least generate frozen energy then yeah, Chivalry of the Wilds could be like the push turn play card. This is like it's really easy to get out 3-4 uncommon creatures just because of just virtue of playing certain cards in a certain order. But then the question becomes, okay, now what? I think Chivalry of the Wild can help just put that pressure on where it's like, okay, well, the only way these guys are leaving is through combat.
Yeah.
So you just go through combat.
Definitely. Cool. And then for February, fast forward to today, we have Glistening Undergrove. This is reveal the top or bottom card of your main deck. If it was a symmetry, you may send it to the graveyard to destroy 1 energy in play. Otherwise, you may add it to your hand. So this is more reveal support. What do you think?
Honestly, yeah, it's good for reveal. I personally would put this into my my 18 creature 2 symmetry deck and turn it into a 16 creature 4 symmetry deck.
Oh.
Yeah, just for virtue of being able to reveal and then either get myself another creature card, trigger a reveal effect, or now, if it is another symmetry, I can just burn for 1. It's not the end of the world, but at the same time, it would thin out my deck a little, 1 more card just so I can get to another reveal card.
Yeah.
And the whole deck is basically a reveal deck, just without all the fancy stuff.
Yeah. Also, I think what people might not realize right out the gate with this card, if you don't want to burn that symmetry, you don't have to. It says if it was a symmetry, you may send it to the graveyard. Mm-hmm. So, whether it's a symmetry that you simply don't want to mill or it's a creature, you may add it to your hand. So, I mean, this is going to be... I think this has a lot more potential than people might realize, but the reception is pretty dang good so far for this card.
Yeah, this is definitely a card where it does change on what deck and how versatile the player is on using it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be honest, I didn't catch the fact that if it is a symmetry, you can just add it to your hand.
Yeah. So it's like you could add a Crystal Cove to your hand or something insane,
Yeah.
Do you think this will see any play in non-reveal decks?
Yes. I think if you play this card in your deck, it becomes an 18-card deck off the bat.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Head Judge Andrew says it's going to see play in non-reveal decks, so pick yours up today. Cool, guys. We just went through the monthly promos released from Season 3 of Organized Play. Stay with us because we're going to now go on to Qualifiers and Worlds. So just a quick recap. This weekend, February 15th, Saturday, is going to be the West Coast Qualifier in Los Angeles, California. Whether you're local or not, we hope to see you there if you're able to travel and make it out. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be very competitive, so bring your A game. Lexi and myself will be there, and we're going to have a huge brand new 20-foot Exodus qualifier banner, so you can't miss us. It's going to be at the Hilton Hotel near LAX in Los Angeles. The Strategicon convention will be going on, but you don't have to buy a convention badge to get in. If you're just there for Exodus, it's $15 entry at the door. You'll get your event badge, and we're on the 2nd floor in collectibles. Also, next month in March is going to be the East Coast Qualifier. That will be in Bay City, Michigan at the stadium. So shout out to them. Hope you guys can make it there. Andrew, what do you think? How is the season going so far in your eyes? Is it kind of what you expected since the release of Set 5, or has there been anything out of the blue?
I mean, since the release of Set 5, I knew right away Chronos is going to be a hot topic item. Mm-hmm. It's going to be like battleships all over the place. And to be honest, I was a little bit worried about what the anti-Chronos faction would be able to do against all this. But after looking at these promos and realizing that there's a little bit more fight back in this resistance, I think that's going to be very diverse. I think there's going to be a lot of creative team composition versus the Chronos, the standard, the battleships all over the place.
For sure. And I don't want to backpedal to talk about promos, but just to mention real quick that I'm really happy with the promo support that we're getting this season, right? Because I think we're all in agreement, creators and players alike, that past promos were kind of lacking as far as that competitive luster. So I am really, really pleased to see, like, not just Chronos being played. Like, obviously certain areas Chronos are more popular, but there's definitely viable options for no matter what deck you want to play,
Yeah, it's just a matter of fine-tuning it and figuring out, like, okay, well, I know certain cards are going to be a problem. There's like a clear list of certain Chronos cards that are going to be at the top. What can I do to make myself a little bit different to, have an edge?
Gotcha. So what cards in your mind are at the top?
Oh, definitely Battleship, for one.
Oh, Battleship. By Battleship, you mean
Battleship.
Hazardous Brigantine, right?
Yeah, Battleship. We call it Battleship over here.
We call it Battleship. I love it.
Yeah, because at a certain point I was just like, yeah, it's just Battleship. Just in and out.
Battleship, boat. We all know what card we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So boat, Battleship, what else?
Well, for me, I think Flash Fire is going to be up there.
Ooh, yes.
It's just instant generation of advantage. You get an energy instantly, every turn, consistently. Sometimes you can get them twice in one turn. I think that's just big.
Yeah.
You immediately play this card and it sets up your Brigantine engine. You get a power for your Brigantine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that, and also because it's not just. Like, it can be used in more than one way because, like you said, you could get potentially 2 energy per turn off of it. So, I mean, if you wanted to take a chrono build and go more in the flood direction, you could ditch the invokes if you wanted to, or heck, you could play invokes with it. I've seen some players do that, and you could go... In fact, it kind of lends itself to that because if you're making certain things afterthoughts, those are less creatures that you're going to have left in the deck, right? Because they float. So, yeah, you could definitely even take it like a Chrono Flood direction, but I do think this is, like you said, I agree, it's higher up on the list competitively.
Yeah, and then to round out a list, in my head, these two are kind of similar in terms of ranking to me. It's going to be Caustic Silhouette and Mechanical Hallucination. Not so much for their field abilities, but for their afterthought abilities. I think the ability to generate advantage after this creature dies, I think that's going to be big. Mm-hmm. It's either a free draw or free energy, which in some cases that could be extra advantage,
Okay, so Mechanical Hallucination and Caustic Silhouette, you think they'll be used more for their afterthought abilities, or do you think it'll be a hard decision? Like, some people will want to keep one in the deck and maybe make one an afterthought, or do you think they'll be strictly used for their afterthought abilities?
Well, personally, it's their afterthought abilities that stand out to me. I think it's going to be a choice between either or. One's going to be like, okay, I need to get more energy on this field. I need to get these numbers up. The other one is going to be, I need to dig through my deck to get something. Depending on what the Chronos player wants to do, that's what they're going to go with.
For consistency, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then actually backpedaling just to Flashfire, his afterthought ability potentially just shuts down Symmetry decks, and I know that was a hot topic last season because obviously Symmetry deck won Worlds. Do you think we'll see any more Symmetry decks, or especially with Flashfire, do you think that's a thing of the past?
I think that Symmetry Burn is a thing of the past, yes. I think, and this is all theoretical, of course, I think that a Symmetry support deck is in potentiality, where the deck exists to help its partner punch through things, remove threats. They play the support role. I feel like that's
interesting.
That's within the realm of reason. It's just all either affecting the field, affecting energy, boosting, protecting, being the backup. That's a possibility in team comp. I think it's going to be up to the players to decide if that's the smartest move.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point because, at least not at our locals on the West Coast, I don't think I've seen any 2v2 situations where, one player was just playing a support deck, let alone all Symmetry. But I know some people have talked about for certain decks like Erota Devourer, because if both players on a team are playing a Devourer deck, it could be really hard because they're kind of taking from each other. I know I've always thought it would be really cool to see one deck support and then the other player is the kind of attacker role.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, all right. Guys, don't sleep on that idea. I mean, it's not too late. We could definitely have some upsets, some surprises, some rogue decks. Qualifiers are here, and there's going to be more. And special announcement at the end of the podcast on the topic of qualifiers, so don't go anywhere. Those are the cards at the top of Head Judge Andrew's list. Andrew, what would you like to see in an ideal world, or like we said, if there are any rogue decks or surprises, what would you like to see?
I want to see someone play Uncommon Tree Folk, Uncommon Shard Folk. I just want to see low rarity representing at Worlds. A bit of a pipe dream, I know, but this has been 5 sets in the making. There is support. It's there.
Hey, I'm with you.
I've destroyed my own tree beat deck with Uncommon Tree Folk. It's not hard. It's just...
Yes.
Will it work in a team setting? That's the question that needs to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of support. It's just filtering out what's good support, what's good in a team comp, because without those questions, then it's just a deck that has no effects.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What decks do you think will make it to Worlds? I mean, I know we haven't even gotten through qualifiers, but do you think whatever tops qualifiers, that's going to still be at the top? Like, those decks are still going to be the best picks for Worlds? Or do you think, especially with the way monthly promos are going, do you think we're going to see the meta kind of shift again before the World Championship?
Okay, so what I expect to win through qualifiers, I want to say, is it's going to be Chrono. I have a strong suspicion that right now it's still in the experimental phase as for the anti-Chrono side. You know, what's good, what's the best team comp. You know, since this is going to be 2v2 qualifiers, I think right off the gates, Chronos is the strongest in terms of team comp because it's pretty straightforward. You know, you're just playing Chronos and then a bunch of symmetries. But I think that when it comes times for Worlds and people have the extra 4 months to figure out what's going to be their team comp, I think that's when we're going to start seeing a little bit more of the diversity between the anti-Chrono side.
So you think potentially the results, or I should say the player experience, as players reflect and kind of perfect and hone their team strategies, we might see some shakeups going into Worlds.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so speaking of Worlds, do you want to touch on, because we were just talking the other day about the World Championship. Worlds 2020 is going to be 2v2, like Andrew said. Players will have to help their teammate qualify, or I should say their ideal teammate. If not, they'll be paired with a partner who's playing the same guild. Let me preface the conversation with this question. How important of a role do you think team strategy, or I should say how well players know their teammate? Like, because I know some players are crazy, like on the ball, like they've practiced, they have, signals, because you're allowed to discuss with your teammate, strategize live as you play. There's no rule against that. In fact, it's encouraged. Do you feel that's going to be a big factor in the team format and which teams and therefore decks rise to the top? Or do you feel like the decks are just going to kind of, do the heavy lifting?
I think that it can go both ways. It goes, you need a good deck and you need a good partner. Two people could team up, but if their decks aren't compatible, if they don't help each other in the field, but if the teammates know each other, they can only go so far until their decks say, no, we don't support each other. No, it doesn't work. And then that could be a deal breaker. That could be like, oh, I have Firefly God on my hand, but I'm the only one playing uncommons, but you're not. Sorry, buddy. That could be the make or break moment. And I think that conversely, having two decks to synergize, but two players who don't know each other well, I think that kind of break communication. It would eat up time during a game. If they have to keep talking about their strategy, then that's time that could have been used playing. And I feel that the less time spent communicating what the plan is and more time just executing the plan, that's a huge saver, because then the players aren't wondering what they're going to do, they're just going to do it. And if the decks work together, if the players know each other and themselves well enough to have faith and have trust, then that reduces the collaboration time in the game. And there's only so much time in the rounds, so each second is precious, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And thankfully, at the first two World Championships, we didn't really see any games go to time. Not really, anyway, So, yeah, hopefully that'll continue. So, yeah, I mean, at times, sure, everybody will have a bad draw, right? But the other thing with 2v2, this format, is the mulligan rule. And being that it's a free mulligan, like there's no penalty, and each player can perform it. Heck, you could wait to see what your partner draws from theirs before you decide if you want to mulligan yourself. Do you think that will really help balance things out, or at least give every deck a better starting chance?
Oh, definitely. I feel like the mulligan is going to help early game synergy stand out. And it would be a shame if one person becomes the lame duck because they drew a really bad hand.
Yeah.
And I feel this is a way to just push the game right into the starting zone, where we don't waste time stalling to draw the cards we need. Ideally the cards would be there, and both teams would just show off what they got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe we might even see cards that normally are pretty good shine even more, like cough ephemera, cough. But yeah, no, totally. I'm on the same page with you there. Beyond that, what's going to make Worlds different this year?
Okay. So if you don't mind, Jake, I'll explain what's going to make Worlds very unique this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So in the past 2 World Championships, we had a standard formula. Day 1, Day 2. Day 1 would be Swiss rounds, and then the cut to Day 2. Now, this is a standard formula. We see it all over the place. But what I've realized after 2 World Championships, after the last World Championship especially, is that in Exodus, we're not just doing another tournament. We're not just saying, okay, yeah, here's a room, go play in it. We're letting players have the chance to build their narrative, build their story. Similar to how these tournaments, the guilds, the rankings, also affect the story of Eventide. And in a sense, it kind of comes full circle where at World Champions, this is where it culminates. This is where in this case, the 16 players / 8 teams meet and compete. And the way that we've advocated to change it is that instead of it being 3-4 rounds of Swiss Day 1, then a cut to Day 2, it's going to be a bracket. Not unlike what we see in fighting game tournaments nowadays. So it's going to be a winner's bracket and a loser's bracket culminating into grand finals. The reason we feel strongly about this is that the second the deck registration is done and we sit everyone down, it's go time. There is no, if I lose this round, I can make it up in the next 2 rounds. No, it's, if I win this round, I'm good. If I lose this round, I have one more shot to make it. And yes, this does put a lot of pressure, but at the same time, wouldn't you want to be the guy who loses his first round and then continues to climb out of loser's bracket into grand finals, into the win? That's a narrative that you're going to repeat for years. And that's a narrative I want to see because everyone loves the underdog story. And I want to see people experience that, where it's not just, I didn't make Day 2. In this case, no. You should be proud that you made it to Worlds, that you made it to the start line of Day 1, where you are competing for the title of championship. It's not just another tournament. This is something that's special, it's different. It makes Exodus different. It's your story. It's our story. And we want to make sure that everyone understands that while this is an unconventional way of doing this, we're trying to change the way people see the card games. It's not just, again, like I said, it's not just we put people in a room and say, go play. Mm-hmm. It says we put people in this room, we say, this is it. Go get it.
Yep. Absolutely. It definitely feels like the stakes are higher, because they are higher, in fact. The fact that you also have a teammate or a partner there to help you, or that you can help each other, is just amazing to me. And that's why I'm just really excited to see not only, who and what decks and what teams make it, but just to see everyone perform and play at their best and have fun, because Worlds is an experience. It's all about that experience, like Andrew was saying, building a narrative. It's an experience you'll never forget, and you're making memories, And of course, we're upping prize support as always. I know that's always something we say, but it's true, especially with this year being 2 versus 2. There's going to be 2 first place champions, 2 runner-ups, finalists, all that good stuff. So yeah, there's going to be even more amazing prizes given out, and the dream prizes are also going to be doubled. So I don't know if we've actually said that, but yeah, it's official that if you want to design a card, if the first place champion picks it, if their partner doesn't, there will still be a second design a card prize that can be chosen if you're in that top 4. So amazing opportunities all the way around. Andrew, is there anything else in your opinion that will make Worlds different this year, or aside from structure?
Yeah, and it's going to be the 2v2. We don't normally see World Championships that are based around a team event, or in this case, tag team event. In this case, it's going to be a lot different mechanically on how things are going to be run, but I feel that's what's going to make this year's World a little bit more unique than what we've done previously. Because like Jake said, you have a partner. You're not fighting on your own. You're fighting with someone in your team. Team events is kind of like the time when you get to prove that your team knows their stuff and your team's ready. It's kind of like you get a lot of time to prep, you get a lot of time to communicate with your partner, and then that communication pays off in the end with each win.
So is there anything else that you wanted to add, Andrew?
No, I mean, honestly, I'm excited to come back. I cannot wait to meet the players who qualify. I'll be there joking around with everybody the instant I walk in that door, so I'll be happy to see everybody. And just talking to Jake about this, and like we're going to have a very rigid schedule, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of room for the players to talk about themselves and to talk about their story. You know, why do they play Exodus? Or what makes them think that they can win? You know, and I think giving players the opportunity to talk about themselves, their story, that's what helps build that narrative.
For sure, and because there will be what he means by that is there will be opportunity to be in a player interview, because we did that. You'll see as the 2019 Worlds videos come out. There's so much good insight, guys. Like, I really can't wait for you to see these videos, because you might not think that, oh, you know, yeah, I'm at Worlds, I'm just playing my deck, doing my thing, helping my partner, but there's really so much insight that the players give in those interviews. It really helps others to see and feel like they're there with you at Worlds, even after the fact when the videos are uploaded. If I want to go to Worlds, how am I going to know what that experience... I really don't know, but I at least get a glimpse into what it's like. If I have insight, not just from, you know, the head judge and Jake and Lexi or whatever, but from the players who have been there, like, I want that to be me, right? Because I want to go to Worlds. I'm aspiring to earn my invitation to go to a qualifier, or maybe if I'm aiming next season, you know, if it's close to the end of the current season. So yeah, I mean, would you say, Andrew, that the interviews are definitely something players should do, not to worry about like being on camera or anything?
Absolutely. It's their opportunity to not just explain what they're doing, but also why they're doing it, why they're playing certain things in their deck. How does it work? You know, it's a way of bringing everything forward, where it's like, you know, someone new could watch this video and say, oh, I get that, and then apply it to something different. Think outside the box. I think just having the top players talk about themselves, their deck, that's all knowledge that's just out there. And having that knowledge out there is what's really going to make things bigger and better next year.
Yep. Well, I'm excited. I know you're excited, Andrew, but yeah, I mean, this Worlds is going to be, I mean, each year it just gets better and better, right? But especially this special occasion, because of the 2 versus 2. We have no plans to do it again in the future. So, I mean, guys, if you want to be here with a teammate, with a partner, this is the year to do it. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a blast. Cool. So, yeah, I guess I'll make one final announcement as we're closing out, and that'll be the online qualifier. But, Andrew, are there any other notes or anything you want to say to listeners before we close this out?
Sure. Yeah, and I just want to say that this year is, again, we keep saying it's going to be different. We promise it's going to be different. And deep down, we know it's going to be different. And Exodus has always existed as a different game, a different way to see card games. And I just want everyone to take that to heart, where it's like, okay, things may seem weird, but trust me, it's for the good. It's gonna make sense. And this is your story. Where's your start line? And then from there, just go and get it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Oh, man. Well, cool. Thank you so much, Head Judge Andrew, for joining me on the Exodus TCG Creator Podcast, episode 4 today. I know you guys will join me, so let's give a round of applause for Head Judge Andrew.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, one final announcement before we wrap this up. There will be an official sanctioned online qualifier coming soon, guys. That's right, an online qualifier. We'll have details. The full announcement will be coming, but it'll be definitely within the next month or two at the latest. It will not be an open event like the current qualifiers, so not everyone will be eligible. We'll have details on it, but guys, if you have some time, check it out. Highly recommend it. It's going to be your one-way ticket to Worlds, no matter where you're located, even if you don't have a community. So super excited to release the announcement for that in the coming days. So thank you once again, Andrew, for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you, guys.
Existence Games.